I've made many Fortnite videos on this channel going over seasons, chapters, and really any other stuff that has to do with Fortnite. And I've obviously gave a lot of my opinions on what the good and bad Fortnite seasons are and what makes them so good. And I think I made it pretty obvious to a certain degree of what I think each season does pretty well and what season does pretty bad. So I thought I would give you a little bit of an overview of what I think the perfect season of Fortnite would look like, or even what a good season of Fortnite looks like in general, down to its theme, mechanics, map, battle pass, loophole, everything. I thought I'd go over everything in this video and really show you what I expect to see from a season in 2024. And remember, this is my opinion, so you can have your own qualifiers. Comment them down below what you think, what you agree with me on, what you disagree with me on, and let's just get into it. Alright, the first thing I wanted to quickly go over is obviously the theming and the general design of the season. I think the theming is the most important part to kind of structure a season off of, and all the important things obviously come out of that, like the loophole, map, and etc. And the theming needs to be on point through all of these. The battle pass needs to match this theme, the POIs, the new ones at least, need to match this theme, and even the loophole needs to match this theme. And it doesn't even necessarily matter what the theme is, as long as it's not one of these, then we're chilling. And I honestly think that cyberpunk type themes are really good for Fortnite. I love when they do these, like Mega City and even Chapter 1 Season 9. Some of the best seasons of those chapters, and I really hope to see more seasons like that. But that doesn't really matter. As long as the season stays consistent with its theme, it's going to succeed. And I did not mean to rhyme that, but I also think that if a collab comes, which I'm fine with collabs, I actually love collabs in the game, I do still think the collab needs to match the theme of the season. And I'm gonna get into this when I talk about the battle pass, but I'm just mentioning it here real quick. And two other small things. I think one, a season needs to introduce 1 to 2 new mechanics at least, probably even more to be honest, and they don't have to stay around for every other season after this. They just need to be in this season to give the season something to be remembered by. And I think they should also match the theme. I'm sorry I keep saying that. And then the last thing I want to mention is I think a season needs to be at least 2 months. I'm sick of people complaining about long seasons when they're only 2 months long. I don't know why you'd want a season that's only a month long. I want to enjoy the season in its full capacity. But yeah, I think a huge part of what really makes a season stand out is staying consistent to its theme the entire way through. And it's going to be brought up a lot in this video, so that's a very important thing to me. Now I'm going to start off with the battle pass, which is the hardest thing for me to talk about, at least in this situation, because it is more of a prediction type thing, and I really don't care what they add to the battle pass as long as it's good skins. But like I already mentioned, gotta stay on theme, and I think that when you do this, it makes the season a lot more memorable to what it was, because I think a season is really represented by what its battle pass is, and if you know what the battle pass looked like, if you know what the season looked like, it's obviously going to be a lot more memorable to you. And I think they need a lot more iconic characters in the battle pass, like Midas, Meowscles, Peely, people like that. And I'm not saying reuse the characters, I'm saying you need characters like these. I'm fine when they do reuse them, but I also like when they introduce new characters that are going to be more prominent in Fortnite storyline. I think the characters also need a lot more character to them, like they did in Chapter 2 Season 2. I thought this was amazing, and really most of the season in Chapter 2, characters had a lot more personality to them, and I think it's something that they're lacking on right now. Just giving the skins or the characters more personality makes a lot more people invested in the lore and the storyline of the game. I feel that each skin should have something special to them. They shouldn't all blend together. Like in Chapter 2 Season 2, they do an amazing job of staying on theme, but making every single character have their own thing to them, their own specialty to them. And in Chapter 4 Season 1, a season that I love, I think the battle pass does a really bad job with this, where every character kind of feels the same other than Jenna and a few others. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the skins are bad, but I'm just saying they kind of blend together in a lot of ways. But I think some qualifiers are every single season should have a meme skin, a sweat skin, and a few cool skins, maybe even a collab, because that's kind of a thing now. But I don't want an unnecessary collab like Neymar in Chapter 2 Season 6. I want a collab that's very on theme with the season, like Kratos in a Greek season. And I think every season from now on should have these mini collab passes. I'm really enjoying these so far. I don't have a problem with them because it brings new mythics into the game, which is super fun to use, and it brings cool skins and cool collabs, so I'm really liking it so far.
I'm gonna go with Tilted Towers. You know why? It's right in the middle here, and it looks like that's where all the action is.
Alright, now moving on to the map, which I think is the second most important part of a season behind the loophole, because I think the loophole is literally the base of the gameplay. But the map is pretty close because the map is what you're playing on with the loophole. So I feel the two really need to work together, especially with its build, especially with its layout. For starters, every single season should bring at least 3 new POIs, maybe even 4, that really fit the season's theme and really give the map its part of the character. I also think that every single season, we should take over the last season's hotspots. I don't want them to introduce a few new POIs, but none of them are really comparable to anything last season. I'm not even saying replace these hotspots, I'm just saying give them a reason to land here instead of the places that we're going to land before. I also think they should remix a lot of other POIs that were already on the map, because that's going to really change them and put them more on theme with the rest of the map. And this will keep the season a lot more refreshing, especially if you do it over time and add them on each update to really shake up the gameplay, because we barely get any more map updates nowadays. I also think there should be some POIs that are really easy and have a really nice layout to them, and some that have a more complicated layout to them, so that people can land at which place they want to land at. Maybe if they're a builder, they want to land at an easier layout, and maybe if they're not a builder, they want to land at a more complex place to protect themselves. And this is kind of just a me thing, but I want a lot more city type POIs like Mega City, Tilted, Daily Bugle. These are some of my favorite POIs of all time, and it's just because I love the city type layout, and I do really like cities in general, but in Fortnite it's just super fun to play on. And vehicle wise, you should really be switching up the vehicles a lot more than we do right now, especially in different seasons, to match the season's layout and the map layout and the map terrain and everything like that. Lastly, bosses need to be challenging, but not a strain to fight. I don't want to go through the fight and want to quit the game after I beat the boss. And I'm going to get into this, but it's especially annoying when the boss isn't even really that rewarding, when you just get a gun that has a little bit of better stats, which I'm going to get into, but I thought I just mentioned here a little bit. That's really all I have to say for the map design. It's obviously a very important part of the gameplay, so I hope that they can keep up what they're doing. I really did like the map this season, although there was some parts that they really lacked on. I think that they can, build themselves up, and next season with the Greek stuff, I think they're gonna go crazy. Now, my favorite part of a season, or what I look forward to most in a season, is the loot pool. For starters, the first thing I want to get into is unvaulting a lot more guns than they are right now. I think Chapter 2 Season 2, 7, and 8 did a great job of keeping a lot of guns in the game to keep it super refreshing, because I think a main problem that I have a lot of times is that from game to game, I want to switch up my loadout, and a problem I had a lot with Chapter 5 Season 1 is that I kind of only had 2 guns, and one of them was just way better than the other, so why would I pick up that other gun if I'm just not going to have fun with it? I want to have a loophole that's going to balance each other out, and that's why I think each season we should have at least 3 shotguns, 1 tac equivalent, 1 pump equivalent, and then whatever else they want to add on to that. Same goes for ARs, although I think they should always have something that's extremely similar to the regular AR, and then some MK equivalent, and then obviously whatever else they want to add on to those. And I'm not saying add these exact guns. What I'm saying is you can change them up and make them different, but make them somewhat similar to these, and then add a little bit more, so that I have a lot more that I can pick between and have fun with. For SMGs and snipers, I think 1 to 2 is fine with them, because I feel like most of them play out the same. Obviously there are differences in them, and obviously some are better than others, but I feel overall if you're good with one of them, you're good with all of them, and there's not much mastering you need to do past that. Now, moving on to mythics, which is actually a very important thing to me, even though it might not seem like that big of a deal. I'm so sick of these better stat guns that they do that are basically just regular guns with better stats, okay? I don't want to kill a boss and get some basic ass, boring ass gun. I want either a gun with special abilities like fire, zero gravity like I mentioned, similar to how the exotics do it, and then even a special abilities. I really want them to bring back mythic special abilities. I had so much fun with these in the Marvel season, and also just a mythic melee weapon. They could switch these up every season, or they could put them all in one season with different bosses having different ones of these. Like one has a gun with fire powers, one has a sword, and one has some ice powers just as themselves. I actually think that'd be a really good idea in general to really switch up the bosses, really separate them from each other, and just shake up the gameplay a lot more than it already would. Mobility is also a very crucial part within the gameplay, and I think the best parts of mobility are the shockwaves, the shockwave hammer, the kinetic blade, things like this that are really fun to use, not only just for mobility, but they're just fun in general. Like I had so much fun going around the map, bouncing back and forth with the shockwave hammer, and I had so much fun speeding over to people with the kinetic blade. I think these are things that they really need to bring back. Obviously they don't have to bring back exactly these, they can even bring back reskins, but I think in general they need to start doing more stuff like they did in Chapter 4 with the mobility. And lastly, I just want either chug splashes or some type of chug splash equivalent, or even slurp fish or slurp juice, just something that's really good for endgame clutching and really good for heals that don't just heal shield or just white health, but both. But yeah, when it comes down to the loophole, the only things I'm really asking for are 1, options. I need way more guns in the game to actually keep it refreshing, and 2, stuff that is actually going to shake up the game and bring new metas to it that are going to be a lot more fun to play with and understand. Lastly, I'm just going to group these two together because I don't have much to say on them, because I'm probably going to do a video on LTMs on their own, and I've already done a video on events. I think every season should have its respective LTM. like how Nexus War had Marvel Knockout, or how Chapter 2 Season 2 had Spy Games. Because, let's say someone just doesn't like the gameplay of how Battle Royale is right now, they can go and play the LTM instead, especially when they don't want to play the rest of the game as the Epic just added, because they're not that good. And then obviously events, I think a live event should happen every other season, but I think every season should have its own mini event like we had this season, going into Chapter 5 Season 2, which I'm very excited for. This should probably be dropping the same day that comes out. Hopefully it does at least. But yeah, I think overall live events, I've already made a video on them, so if you want to go watch it, you can. I'm not going to go too in depth with them because I already did. You know what I mean? So if you want to watch that, you can. But overall, I think the most important part of every season is the gameplay, at least for me. I think the Battle Pass is obviously cool, and I love cosmetics in general. I don't think it really stands to the gameplay, because I don't really want to play a season, even if it has an amazing Battle Pass. If the gameplay is ass, I'm not going to be playing the season. So yeah, I think breaking down everything, the map and the loophole are the most important parts, and when they work together, I think it can make an amazing season, as long as the theme stays consistent, like I said, the whole way through, and just having everything come together and really staying consistent with everything. I think that's what makes a good Fortnite season. I think consistency and theming makes a great Fortnite season. And obviously the gameplay, but I kind of already said that. But you know what I mean.